Record early voting numbers, Norman residents still without power, and Wall Street's prediction for tomorrow's election. This is OU Nightly. Thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Kelsey Hovanetz.
And I'm Madisyn Lewis. We're one day away from Election Day, and it's already a record-breaking one for Oklahoma. The number of people voting early, both in person and by mail, is higher than ever before. OU Nightly's Karbs breaks down the numbers.
In the 2016 election, the Cleveland County Election Board sent out 14,000 absentee ballots, and for this election, they sent out nearly 40,000.
And as a state, we broke all the records.
The election board has already received back 30,000 absentee ballots and are working to process them all for tomorrow. As well as breaking absentee ballot records, Cleveland County also had a record turnout for early voting in person, with about 15,000 people at the polls.
We hope that absentee by mail and in-person voting took a lot of the pressure off the polling places.
The election board will be processing ballots this afternoon and from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow. If you mailed your ballot in, you can check the status of your ballot online to ensure it got to the election board. All ballots not received by the election board by tomorrow at 7 p.m. will not be counted.
Is after we receive it, is that we have to scan in this barcode. And then that barcode gives them voter history credit. So we know that their ballot's been returned. And they know, they can go to their voter portal and check.
The deadline to return your ballot in person to the election board is today at 5 p.m. However, if you miss that deadline, you can take your ballot to the post office. It's recommended you get your ballot to the post office before 6 p.m. tomorrow because the last drop-off of ballots for the election board will be collected by then. Karbs, OU Nightly.
You can go to the OK Voter portal online to check your registration status, see a sample ballot, and find the location of your polling place. You must be in line at your polling place before 7 p.m. to vote in this election.
And final preparations are underway for tomorrow's Election Day. Kaitlyn Deggs has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world. Kaitlyn.
Thank you, Kelsey. Both presidential candidates are campaigning across the country today ahead of tomorrow's election. Joe Biden held a rally in Cleveland, Ohio earlier this morning and will spend the rest of the day campaigning in Pennsylvania. President Trump will hold 5 rallies in 4 states today, beginning in North Carolina and ending tonight in Michigan. The candidates are hoping to sway last-minute voters in battleground states, states that are important in securing an election victory. A federal judge in Texas rejects a challenge to invalidate drive-through votes collected in Harris County. A group of Republicans filed the petition to toss out nearly 130,000 votes in the heavily Democratic Houston area last Tuesday, arguing that drive-through voting violates the Constitution. Judge Andrew Hanen, who presided over the case, reasoned that invalidating votes could cause mass confusion among the people who have already voted, or that people may not have the opportunity to go back and vote again. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announces plans for a second national lockdown. The number of cases in the UK has surpassed 1 million since the beginning of the pandemic.
Number of patients, by no means all of them elderly, by the way, would mean that doctors and nurses would be forced to choose which patients to treat.
Johnson hopes that the lockdown will help control the outbreak and ease the burden of healthcare professionals. Madisyn, back to you.
Thanks, Kaitlyn. Here in Oklahoma, another 4-digit day for new COVID cases. The Oklahoma State Health Department reports 1,084 new cases. That brings the total number of active cases to just under 16,000. There are 9 new deaths reported in the state, bringing the COVID death toll to 1,354. And Kelsey, it's been feeling a little bit warmer today than it was this time last week.
Mikayla Smith gives us our first look at our forecast.
Yeah, guys, it's been great today, and for Election Day tomorrow, it's really going to be a beautiful day. Starting off at 8 o'clock in the morning, you may want to grab a jacket if you're heading out to go vote at the polls. It's going to be sunny, but again, 45 degrees, but it's going to warm up as we progress throughout the day. By 6 p.m., just an hour before those polls close, it's going to be 65 degrees and sunny with those winds coming out of the south, so it's going to be perfect time to go out there and do your part as an American and vote. Now, coming up, I'll tell you more about our voting weather, how we're staying dry for the rest of this week, and how we have a pleasant, gorgeous week ahead. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mikayla. Most people are thinking about tomorrow's presidential election, but there's another election happening on OU's campus. Stay with us to find out how this year's SGA election will look a little bit different.
Plus, many businesses are preparing for Election Day very differently than in years past. Find out what precautions are being taken straight ahead on OU Nightly.
Welcome back to OU Nightly. OU Student Government Association is set to host their presidential and vice presidential debates tonight at 7, but this year's debates will look a little different due to the coronavirus pandemic. The debates will be held virtually and take place over Zoom. Students can comment questions they would like the candidates to address on the SGA's Instagram post or send them in via Twitter. This will be the first ever virtual debate held by SGA, and candidates feel it will have its advantages and its disadvantages. They say that it will be interesting to be at home, but they are happy that they can share the link. They will be able to send it in to parents who could be there or who could not be there in person. So it's super helpful for them to be able to reach out to people around campus, friends and family who would like to see it as well. So it definitely has its pros and cons, and they think it will be interesting to say the least. And regardless of who wins tomorrow night's presidential election, investors are sure to make quick moves within the market. Dylan Rivera joins us with Money Matters on how their presidential race will affect Wall Street. Dylan.
With election night just over 24 hours away, the eyes of the nation will surely be glued to the TV. But keep your eyes on Wall Street. Investors could be the telling sign as to who wins the 2020 presidential election. With mail-in ballots reaching an unprecedented number, news organizations may be hesitant to project winners. Investors, however, will move quickly on any sign of a winner, and currently, some say Wall Street has already given Joe Biden the win based on his performance or its performance over the last week or so. Businesses across the country are boarding up in fear of possible rioting after the election results are announced. With political tensions expected to reach their peak just after the election, businesses are not taking any chances of losing any more money. Companies like Gap, CVS, and Macy's are among those putting plywood over their windows in select cities. For the retail industry in 2020, the coronavirus pandemic and riots from earlier in the year resulted in numerous bankruptcies, plummeting sales, and store closures. And if you're worried you may not have a way to and or from the polling location, don't fret. Rival rideshare companies Uber and Lyft are both offering Election Day deals for voters. Uber is offering half-off round-trip rides to and from polling locations up to $7 each way or $14 round-trip. Lyft is offering half-off one ride up to $10 to any polling place or drop box using the code 2020VOTE. And similarly to Uber and Lyft, Hertz is offering an Election Day deal as well in a program called, quote, Drive the Vote. Drivers who rent a vehicle by the end of the day today for 2 or more days will receive 1 free day with their rental vehicle. That's my 2 cents. Madisyn and Kelsey, back to you.
Thank you, Dylan. Well, the holiday shopping season is one of the most important times of the year for retailers, and with the COVID pandemic, this year's shopping season is looking a little bit different. Mandy Gaither tells us why there's a push for you to shop early this year.
From small shops to big stores, retailers are getting ready for the holiday shopping season.
They have been preparing for this holiday season, I believe, since the time they realized this was not going to be a normal year.
The National Retail Federation is urging Americans to shop safe, early, and often.
These retailers, and especially these small local retailers on main streets across America, are really needing your help right now. So getting out there, buying now, getting that checklist done, you don't have to worry about that later on.
According to their annual survey, the NRF is expecting consumers to spend slightly less on gifts than last year, but shell out a little more for decorations for a total just under $1,000.
The inventory is there. They are offering the discounts and the prices that people want to pay. And our research has shown that people will shop early.
Recent retail sales have made the NRF hopeful that it will be a strong holiday shopping season.
People want the shopping experience. They have been forced to basically stay home. They want to get out and enjoy and partake in something they've known all of their lives.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The NRF is expecting online sales to be higher this year.
And many Norman residents are still dealing with the aftermath of last week's weather. Stay tuned to find out when the power will be restored.
And this week's weather isn't too bad. Mikayla, how long can we expect these warmer temperatures to stick around?
Yeah, guys, last week's ice storm was completely, crazy for everyone. Everyone's been out of power and stuff. But luckily, like you said, this week we're warming up. It's going to be a good week overall in those 70s, and I'll give you more coming up on what it's going to be about. Welcome back to OU Nightly. You can see currently it is a beautiful day here in Oklahoma City. There is not a cloud in the sky. Sitting right about 67 degrees here, sunshine. Those winds are coming from the south here in OKC. Those dew points are relatively low. So again, it has just been a gorgeous day across the state. Now, that was here in Norman, but 76 in Guyman, 62 down here in Idabel. So around the state, we're just having those beautiful fall-like temperatures, which is very different from where we were sitting at this time last week when we were getting all of that ice and snow that started to move in. Now, we can thank these better temperatures due to these high pressure systems. We can see our first one is going to be up here to the northwest, and it's really just going to kind of stay there throughout the week. We have a few that are going to start to kind of move their way out to the southeast a little bit as the week progresses. You see another one comes in here. But these high pressure systems are keeping these winds coming strong from the south, and we're staying nice and warm. You can see we're going to have a dry line that moves in to the state here on Thursday. Again, this high pressure system really doesn't move too much. And then as we go into Friday, we have this high pressure system and then another one that's going to be over here to our east, and these are going to be, we're going to be wedged between the two of them, and that's going to be what's keeping us nice and warm and dry, and really just keeping us having those sunshine and the nice temperatures. Now tonight, lows across the state going to be in the lower 40s, a little bit below normal for this time of year, but not anything too crazy. We're going to warm back up going into tomorrow. 70s throughout the entire state, touching 79, so almost 80 out there in Guyman, but down here 70 in Idabel. So again, it's going to be a beautiful day to head out, go to the polls, do your part, vote, because you're going to have the perfect weather to go out and do that. Now, speaking of November, talking about the polls, we're getting close to that time where we're going to be seeing our peak fall colors predicted on those trees. Now, it may be a bit different because of that ice storm, like I said, we had last week, so it may not be as strong or as impactful as it was before, but right now we're sitting at right about, I'm going to say second week of November is where we're really expected to see those peak changes. Now, in November, hurricane season is not over yet. We have Hurricane Eta, it's down here. It's not pulling up currently at the moment, but it's sitting right about here off the coast of Nicaragua. It is a Category 4 hurricane and is 28th named storm of this season. We have tied 2005 for the most named storms of a season, and we've never used Eta before. So again, it's somewhere sitting right off here. It is expected to make landfall into Nicaragua tomorrow at some point in the day. So we're really keeping an eye on this. It's the earliest that we've had a storm in November, so that's something that's really important. Now, going on throughout the rest of the week, it's going to be nice and sunshine and warm here, and then we have the chances of clouds that come back in and some sunshine, some rain on Monday. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mikayla. And the cold weather of last week's ice storm may have moved on, but many Oklahomans are still feeling its impact. Oklahoma Gas and Electric continues to work on repairing damaged power lines hit by fallen trees and limbs. OG&E says it's making polling places a priority for tomorrow's election. They've also added additional linemen from other states to help with repairs. Here's a live look at the OG&E System Watch. This shows how many locations are without power right now. The location can be a home or a business. Right now there's just over 127,000 locations with no electricity. If we zoom in, we can tell there's around 128 locations in Norman still waiting for the lights to come back on. At last check, it was expected that most customers would have power restored by the end of this week.
And while the Sooners walked out of Lubbock with a win this weekend, Sooner fans are remembering the life of a prominent OU basketball figure. Madisyn Daddario joins us with the weekend breakdown.
The OU community celebrates the life and legacy of a Sooner basketball legend, and the Crimson and Cream picked up a major win in Lubbock this past weekend. Don't go anywhere, sports is next. Back to OU Nightly, I'm Madisyn Daddario, and it's time for sports. Yesterday, Sooner basketball legend Billy Tubbs passed away due to complications with leukemia. Tubbs was the head basketball coach for the Sooners in the 80s and 90s. Tubbs led his team to 9 NCAA tournaments, with 5 of those tournaments having the Sooners as the #1 seed. Tubbs also holds the record for the most wins in the program's history. Billy Tubbs was 85 when he passed. And Tubbs surely would have been happy to see the Sooner football team absolutely wreck Texas Tech this weekend. After what some would call a very shaky start to the season, OU football is starting to look like their former selves again. This Saturday, Ramondre Stevenson and Ronnie Perkins returned for their first game since their suspension. And Stevenson made sure everyone knew he was back by scoring not one, not two, but 3 touchdowns with an extra reminder after his third TD. Defensive back Trey Norwood also had himself a game this weekend with 2 picks for 19 yards. Coming off of the win, both Coach Riley along with QB1 Spencer Rattler expressed their excitement about Stevenson and Perkins' return.
They both had a big impact. I mean, they're 2 really, really good football players, and was great to have them back.
We were extremely excited. I mean, when Coach Riley said that, we all got chills. Super happy for him, you know, and we knew they would come out and do us justice. So they both did a great job. Mondre had 3 touchdowns that were big for us, and he's just a great back for us. And Perk did great as well.
Last week, it was announced that Heisman hopeful and Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID-19. After an almost loss to Boston College without him, head coach Dabo Swinney announced that Trevor Lawrence will be completing his 10-day quarantine and will not be playing against number 4 ranked Notre Dame this weekend. The Cowboys took on the Eagles in Philadelphia yesterday. Currently on their 3rd string quarterback, the Dallas Cowboys season seems like it might be derailing. Up by 2 points at the end of the first half, the Cowboys were scoreless in the second half, with the Eagles scoring 16 more points, ending the game with a 23-9 Eagle win. The Eagles will now lead the NFC East due to this win on Sunday. And in more NFL Sunday action, the undefeated Steelers took on the Ravens. Both teams are top contenders in the NFL, so it is no surprise that it was a battle to the very end. However, the Steelers sealed their win in the 4th quarter with a touchdown pass into the corner of the end zone, finishing in a 28-24 Steelers win. This weekend, Saints quarterback Drew Brees broke the record for most passing touchdowns in NFL history. Completing his 560th touchdown pass, Brees broke the record on his 2nd touchdown yesterday. However, there's a good chance his title will be taken away tonight by Tom Brady, as he is currently sitting at 559 touchdown passes, which means we could be seeing these two playing leapfrog for the title just about every week. And touchdown passes weren't the only thing being thrown in the Saints versus Bears game yesterday. Bears wide receiver Javon Wims was suspended for 2 games today after punching Saints DB C.J. Garden-Johnson multiple times in the head. Johnson denies instigating the punches that he took at his helmet. And after watching that video, I want to know what actually hurts more, Johnson's head or Wims' hand after wailing into that helmet. Back to you guys.
I mean, naturally, I want to say that his hand hurt worse.
Oh, I'm going to have to go with the other side. That was a hard punch.
Yeah, that was tough.
Well, thank you, Madisyn. And Play-Doh isn't just for kids. Find out more about that after the break.
I'm Tingelstad at the OU Nightly Update Desk. The South African pharmaceutical firm Aspen Pharmacare has announced a deal with Johnson & Johnson to manufacture its COVID-19 vaccine candidate. If the deal is approved in South Africa and internationally, the vaccine will be produced at Aspen's manufacturing facility in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. The company would be able to manufacture more than 300 million doses a year. That's it for now. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kaylee. Well, just in time for the holiday season, Play-Doh is set to launch a line for adults. The line is just a little bit different from the Play-Doh we played with growing up, featuring more sophisticated packaging and more grown-up scents.
Overpriced Latte, Spa Day, and Grill King are just a few of these new scents you can find in this new Play-Doh line at either Walmart or Amazon. And Mikayla, how is it going to feel going out to the polls tomorrow?
Yeah, heading out in the morning, it's going to be a bit chilly, 45 degrees when you step out the door around 8 a.m., but luckily we have those winds coming from the south, so we are going to warm up as the day goes on. 6 p.m., about an hour before the polls close here in Oklahoma, we're going to be at 65. So again, it's going to be a beautiful day, and that's going to continue throughout the rest of the week. We're going to have those sunshines in the 70s, and then those clouds are going to return on Saturday and Sunday, and then those rain chances jump back in on Monday. But again, the rest of this week until the next weekend is going to be fantastic. Back to you guys.
All right, well, thanks, Mikayla. And thank you for tuning in to OU Nightly. We're live every weekday from Gaylord Hall on the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night for our election night coverage. Good night.